Good evening. We welcome you to WKYT News at 6, live on air and streaming on WKYT Plus. I'm Bill Bryant.
And I'm Amber Philpott. A Fayette Circuit judge is now facing impeachment charges.
Judge Julie Goodman faced a House impeachment committee this week. And last night, 2 state lawmakers formally filed a resolution to proceed with impeachment. She is accused of abusing her powers in office, among other claims.
Tonight, WKYT's Samantha Valentino sits down with the mother of a Lexington murder victim who says justice in her son's case has been delayed nearly a decade at the hands of Judge Goodman. It's our top story at 6.
They will be filing a resolution that attaches articles of impeachment.
Those articles accuse Fayette Circuit Judge Julie Goodman of abusing her powers in office, defying binding precedents in legal statutes, and interfering with the rights and powers of the grand jury, trial jurors, attorneys, and others in the judicial process.
Coming in and out of her courtroom every month, I and our family felt victimized every single day.
Tracy Kurtzinger has spent many hours in Judge Goodman's courtroom. Her son, Austin Hendren, was shot and killed on Father's Day in 2018. In 2024, a jury found Austin's father, James Hendren, guilty of his murder. They recommended he serve a life sentence.
When that verdict came in from his 12 peers of a guilty life in prison, she looked at that paper, she rolled her eyes and shook her head.
Hendren was scheduled to be sentenced in June 2024, but instead of a sentencing, Judge Goodman approved a motion for a new trial. In June of last year, the Kentucky Court of Appeals reinstated Hendren's guilty verdict, saying Judge Goodman abused her discretion by ordering a new trial. Hendren's attorney then filed a motion for discretionary review with the Kentucky Supreme Court. Until they make a decision, Kurtzinger's wait for justice continues. When news broke that a petition had been filed for Judge Goodman's impeachment, Kurtzinger says she was elated.
I was like, it was about time, because something has to be done by her victimizing the victims constantly coming out of her courtroom.
And what is your message to the lawmakers who will ultimately decide whether to impeach Judge Goodman?
Sit in one of her courtrooms. Don't let her know you're there. Look over courtroom tapes. Look to how she victimizes the victims. And it's all about the defendant and not the victims.
Judge Goodman's attorney told us he had no comment on the House Impeachment Committee's decision to advance the impeachment effort against her. In Lexington, Samantha Valentino, WKYT.
Now that articles of impeachment have been filed against Judge Goodman, the full House will decide whether to pass them. If passed, Goodman will be tried by the Senate, which will act as a court hearing arguments and evidence. A 2/3 vote of the Senate is then required to convict Goodman and remove her from office.